There's something about college that makes it the perfect setting for horror. The late night study sessions, abandoned dorm rooms, and a campus that seems to get eerier as the sun sets. But sometimes it's not just your imagination playing tricks on you. Sometimes the horror is real. Here are 4 true college horror stories that will make you think twice before heading out alone after dark. Story 1, The Dormitory Nightmare. It was the beginning of sophomore year, and Jessica was excited to move back into her dorm room. She had scored a single room this time, no roommate to worry about. But as the semester went on, strange things started happening. Little things at first. Her desk lamp would flicker, her textbooks would end up on the floor, even though she was sure she'd left them on the shelf. You know, the kind of stuff you'd laugh off until you can't. One night, she was woken up by the sound of tapping. She brushed it off as a tree branch hitting the window. But then, the tapping came again. This time, from the closet. She sat up, her heart pounding, and noticed the closet door slowly creaking open. She turned on the light, but there was nothing inside, just an empty, dark closet. It seemed harmless enough until she found out the history of that room. Years ago, a student had hung himself in that very closet. After that, Jessica never slept in that dorm room again. The school claimed there was no record of the incident, but Jessica wasn't taking any chances. She switched dorms, and the tapping stopped. Sometimes it's better not to ask questions or open doors. Hey, by the way, have you checked your closet lately? Just kidding, or am I? The haunted fraternity house. But not all college horrors happen in the dorms. Sometimes the terror comes from where you least expect it. Story 2, The Haunted Fraternity House. Every campus has that one fraternity house known for its wild parties and its creepy reputation. Brandon had just joined a fraternity that was said to be haunted. The older brothers used to tell stories about the founding member who had mysteriously disappeared back in the 1960s. But to the new pledges, it was all just part of the initiation, a ghost story meant to scare the newcomers. One night, as part of a hazing ritual, Brandon was blindfolded and left in the basement for 10 minutes. It wasn't a big deal, right? But then he heard footsteps circling him, followed by whispers, saying his name. The air became cold, and he could feel someone or something standing right behind him. Just as he was about to rip off the blindfold, the basement lights flickered on, and his fraternity brothers came in, laughing. But here's the thing, none of them had been whispered, and they swore the lights had never gone out. Brandon never found out what really happened that night. The founding member was never found, but some say his spirit still lingers in the shadows of the fraternity house basement. It's one initiation that Brandon will never forget. Makes you wonder what's scarier, being haunted by a ghost or being pranked by your fraternity brothers. Honestly, can we just choose neither? The campus library's secret. From fraternity basements, we head to a place that's supposed to be safe and quiet, the library. But even the silence can be deceiving. Story 3, The Campus Library's Secret. Alex was a history major who spent countless hours in the library archives researching for his thesis. He loved the quiet, the musty smell of old books, and the thrill of uncovering the past. But one night, as he was digging through some old documents, he found a journal dated 1924. It belonged to a student who had gone missing, and the last entry was chilling. "I think I'm being watched. Someone or something doesn't want me here." Intrigued, Alex stayed late, determined to learn more. But as he turned each page, he began to feel an unsettling presence, as if he were no longer alone. Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging the library into darkness. He could hear a faint shuffling in the stacks, getting closer and closer. When the lights came back on, the journal had vanished, and no one else was in the library. Alex never found the journal again, and the mystery of the missing student remained unsolved. But to this day, students claim to see shadows moving in the archives when they're there after hours. Maybe some things should stay buried in the past. Or maybe that's just the library's way of saying, "Go home already, nerds." The Strange RA. If you thought you could at least trust the people around you, think again. Our last story isn't about a ghost, but something far more disturbing. Story 4, The Strange RA. Sarah was a freshman living in the dorms, and her resident assistant Mike seemed like the typical RA, friendly, helpful, always around, maybe a little too around. Sarah often noticed him standing at the end of the hallway, just watching. She figured he was just doing his rounds until things started to get creepy. One night, she woke up to find Mike standing outside her room, staring in through the window. When she confronted him the next day, he brushed it off, claiming he was just checking in on everyone. But Sarah wasn't buying it. She decided to dig a little deeper and discovered that Mike had a history of stalking behaviors that the school had tried to keep quiet. After Sarah reported him, Mike was quickly removed from campus. But the experience left her shaken, knowing how close she had come to real danger. The school issued a statement, but nothing ever fully explained why he was there that night or what he was really up to. Sometimes the real horrors are the people who live among us. Now's probably a good time to double check that your dorm room door is locked, right? College can be the best years of your life, or the stuff of nightmares. These stories remind us to stay cautious, even in the most familiar places. But if you thought these tales were chilling, you won't want to miss the next video on our channel, 3 True Craigslist Horror Stories.